So the 2025 NBA regular season is coming to a close, and everybody drafted in 2024 is finishing up their rookie season. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a rookie tier list after year one of their NBA careers. And I'm going to drop these rookies into 6 different tiers. Future All-Star, you're the best of the best, and I think you can at least make one All-Star appearance in your career. Bright future, you were pretty good at times this year, and I do think you can have a spot on a title team one day, or maybe a good playoff team as a rotational guy. Exceeded expectations, yeah, pretty much exactly how it sounds. Could be better, could be worse. There were some ups, there were some downs. Can only go up from here. This is pretty much me saying that you weren't really good this year, and I don't want to put too much stock into your rookie year. I'm not going to say anything too overreactionary, so it can really only go up. And then need year 2 playing time, just basically anybody that didn't really play in the G League. So we could start off with the #1 overall pick, Zachary Risachet. At the time, it wasn't a guarantee that he was going to be the #1 pick in the draft, and then he had a really good playoff over there at JL Berg, and then that also had the Atlanta Hawks front office with Landry Fields and Kyle Korver in attendance, and he showed out in that game. It was a little bit of a head scratcher to take him over Alex Sarr, but it was also Alex Sarr didn't really want to play in Atlanta. But Risachet, after getting off to a slow start, a tough summer league, he looks like a future All-Star this year. There is a chance he could still end up winning Rookie of the Year. I think there's a good chance he's going to finish second in Rookie of the Year voting. But over Risachet's last 15 games, he's averaging 16 points. He's got a 62% true shooting percentage. He's finishing off the season on a very high note. He has the length, the ball handling ability to really be an All-Star one day. And if he fills out into his body, the conditioning goes up as well, as he was very tired going into this NBA season after having a full offseason of strength and conditioning and feeling out better chemistry with Trae Young for the long term. I do think he could be a future All-Star. And I know there's some rookies that maybe look a little bit better at times that were drafted after Risachet, but I'm sure the Atlanta front office and their fans are more than happy with Risachet going forward. And it's exciting to watch him and Jalen Johnson and Trae Young and Dyson Daniels when they were all healthy at one point this year. And that's something I'd be very excited about going into year #2 of Risachet's career. Cody Williams, unfortunately, I got to throw him in that bottom tier. Can really only go up from here. He was one of the worst rookies in the NBA this year. He was the 10th overall pick. Usually in that month of March, you're going to see guys drop 20 points that you really never even heard of before. Jared Rhoden, Brandon Williams, shout out Drew Timmy for the Brooklyn Nets. And I feel like Cody Williams hasn't really taken advantage of an increase in playing time in the month of March. Sometimes he looks lost out there. Sometimes he's just forcing too many bad looks. And he was definitely a raw prospect coming out of Colorado, but at one point he was the best college prospect for this draft in the middle of that Pac-12 season last year for the Buffaloes. And right now, he probably looked like the 3rd best rookie on the Jazz, but I do think he still could have the highest ceiling out of Filipowski and Isaiah Collier over there. I just hope that he's going to get still a decent amount of playing time in year #2, because there's a chance this team is going to draft 3 more rookies into the fold, and then I wonder if he's just going to get bumped down their pipeline going forward and just guys that they want to invest a ton into. Matas Buzelis. I think I've seen enough over this final 25 game stretch where I think he could be a future All-Star in this league. He wasn't a top 10 pick because of the disaster that the G League Ignite was, but he has looked so comfortable as of late. He showed flashes earlier in the year, but definitely after the All-Star break with Josh Giddey playing better, Kobe White playing better, Trey Jones playing better, Matas Buzelis looks like he could be somebody that can average into the high teens, low 20s in points one day and do it at an efficient level. He's an incredible skilled downhill scorer for somebody at his age, and honestly with not a lot of professional basketball under his belt because of really the lack of competition and the lack of functionability that the G League Ignite was. And he fell to the Bulls in the draft. They took a home run swing on Buzelis, and it's paid out ever since, and he's going to be part of their future plans. And whoever they take in the first round in 2025, you add in Josh Giddey, who's a great initiator to help out with Buzelis' development. He could be somebody that could be a very good scorer in the NBA one day, and somebody you could legitimately build around because he's 6'10 and he can handle the ball very well. Nikola Topic, need year 2 playing time. I wonder about his future, because maybe you forgot that he was drafted in the lottery by the OKC Thunder. We're not going to see him at all this year. He tore his ACL late in the Mega Basket season last year. But this team has a ton of talent. They were pretty much the best team in the NBA throughout the whole year, and they're honestly going to be one of the best teams of all time. There's going to be a couple more Thunder players that we're going to talk about that I think could help contribute more than Topic next year. And if the Thunder are going to draft 2 to 3 more rookies in the 2025 draft, what if they make another signing or trade this offseason? How many minutes can Topic realistically get on this roster next year if they're going to be relatively healthy? Could this be an Ousmane Dieng 2.0 here in OKC? Just a lack of playing time, and he was raw coming out of Serbia as it is, and I do wonder what his role is going to be on this team next year. For Devin Carter, he like started the season so late with the shoulder injury, and it wasn't the best start. And honestly, I wonder if it's the shoulder injury that's affecting his shot right now, because he does not look like the same player and the same contributor he was at Providence. And it's been a very inconsistent go at things in terms of his minutes allocation this year for the Kings. I thought it was a little bit of a weird pick at the time, although I loved Devin Carter as a prospect. There were some other teams that I liked him going to a little bit more. So I do think it can only go up from here, especially that he gets a full offseason of rehab and there may be more minutes opened up on this team depending if they make some moves this offseason. Bub Carrington, I think, bright future 100%. Maybe he could be an all-star one day. I don't know if I can definitely say that because I don't know how good he's going to be defensively. How many minutes and touches is he going to get going forward when the Wizards are also going to be adding maybe a top 5, top 6 pick into this draft? They got Alex Sarr that they want to continue to develop. Same with Bilal Coulibaly. But Bub Carrington looks like a true microwave scorer in this league. He could be a great combo guard out of the starting lineup or coming off the bench. And for somebody that was drafted 14th overall, this looks like a good pick. I'd rather have Denny Avdia going forward, but Bub Carrington looks like a nice consolation prize for the Washington Wizards. And obviously, they got another pick out of that trade as well. But I think Carrington, especially over the second half of the year, and it's only helped more with Middleton and Marcus Smart being the veteran leaders for this team. And you got Kyle Kuzma out of there in Washington. Next up, we have Kel'el Ware. I want to put him in bright future as well because I don't want to flood the future all-star tier. I'm not going to say that this draft class is going to have 5 to 6 to 7 all-stars. I think I may have 4 to 5 guys in this tier. I wanted to limit it at 5. I do think Kel'el Ware is knocking on that door. And if you wanted to put him over Buzelis, that's fine with me. But if he's somebody that can get his head right and he's super locked in, he could be one of the more versatile players from this draft class. And this draft class, in terms of bigs, has aged very well. As someone that can space the floor, that can average 2 to 2.5 blocks a night, Kel'el Ware looks like a great pick for the Miami Heat. Thought it was a little weird at the time with Bam Adebayo, but we're learning that they could play together in that front court going forward. And I'm excited how Kel'el Ware in year number 2 is going to look like. Jared McCain, from what we saw, future all-star. Now, I don't know if that's going to be in Philadelphia with this roster because he was balling out when Embiid was hurt and Maxey was hurt and Paul George was banged up as well. He's not going to get nearly that amount of touches next year, especially if they add a top 5 pick in this draft. You have Maxey, PG, and Embiid already. And what about Quentin Grimes, who's been a phenomenal pickup for the 76ers? But I do think from what we saw in that sample size, somebody that moves so well without the ball in his hands that could be an elite shooter in this league. I do think he can be a future all-star. I do think Reese Hachey and Buzelis have a higher ceiling than McCain. McCain definitely has a higher floor, but I do think McCain has a better chance at making an all-star one day than a Kel'el Ware and a Bub Carrington from what we saw throughout that 20-game stretch. Because he really was taking the NBA by storm when he ended up getting that increase in minutes and he was playing over 30 minutes a night. He had multiple 20-plus point games and he looked like an NBA veteran out there already. Definitely in that future all-star, and I wonder if he would have won Rookie of the Year if he didn't get hurt. Dalton Knecht. This is tough because I always want to be a little bit realistic with these older prospects coming out that are going to look a little bit more polished right away. That makes total sense as Dalton Knecht is 4 years older than Bub Carrington, but I do think Dalton Knecht can still have a bright future in this league. I may drop him down because he's definitely exceeded expectations for somebody on where he was drafted and he fell outside the lottery to the Lakers. It's just, I'm not sure how much better Knecht is going to be than the version we're seeing right now, similar to what we saw after Jaime Jaquez's rookie year a year ago. So there is a chance I bump him down if I feel like he doesn't have as bright of a future and ceiling that Ware and Carrington do, because Knecht is 4 years older than Bub Carrington and 3 years older than Kel'el Ware. So they're going to be the same age as Knecht in 3 to 4 years. Think about how good Bub and Kel'el Ware could be with 3 more years of development. So I may actually drop Knecht to still a good tier, exceeded expectations, by far giving them productive value for where they drafted him in the middle of the first round. I just don't know if he's in that bright future because I think he's fine as a rookie. Same with Tristan Da Silva. I thought about maybe it could be better, it could be worse, but I think at times showed that he could be a good connecting piece for this team. Someone that's not going to make terrible decisions. Like Knecht, he's also 23 years old as well, a little bit younger, but I do think he's going to be a fine rotational player in this league for a long time because he's somebody that doesn't make bad mistakes. Like I said, he could dribble well, pass, defend, shoot a little bit, and hopefully can get better over time there in Orlando. So next up, I have Jacoby Walter, the Toronto Raptors. I'm going to throw him in the could be better, could be worse tier, which is not a bad tier whatsoever. I still think that Walter has a higher ceiling than Da Silva and Knecht. And honestly, the way that he's been playing in March, which is what sometimes you see from these rookies, I was hoping we were going to get that out of Cody Williams or Devin Carter, and we really just haven't. But Walter has looked better as of late, looks more comfortable out there, can hit very difficult shots. I think he could be in that bright future. There's a chance I bump him up at the end of this, but it was very inconsistent to start the year. Next up, we have Alex Sarr. I know the efficiency isn't great, but I've seen enough defensively. I've seen enough from the potential offensively and some really good stretches where I think he could be somebody that can average 16 to 20 points per game, double-digit rebounds, 2 blocks a night, and be an elite rim protector in this league. He's also shooting 31% from 3 as a rookie. I know he's shooting sub 40% from the field, but as this team gets better, as they add more veterans and more initiators that can draw the defense's attention, Sarr is going to get even better looks in year 2, year 3, and year 4. It was always the long-term outlook for Alex Sarr. He was my number 1 player for the 2024 draft, but I also said I did not expect him to win Rookie of the Year this year or even be a top 3 rookie because I still felt like he needed to feel out his aspect of the game because he wasn't even a starter for Perth last year in the NBL. I also think he's exceeded expectations as a rookie. I know the efficiency is great, but that will get better over time. And I do believe he's a top 5 rookie this year with Reese Shea, Buzelis, McCain, and Sarr in terms of just long-term outlook in this league. Some guys were definitely better than Sarr this year. You could say just from pure production, Khalil Ware could have been better at times, and some other guys we'll get to, but I do think Sarr has a future all-star in his hands. Next up, we have Jalen Tyson, who had that really good scoring game against the Pelicans earlier in the year, but that's basically all we got. I just want to see more playing time in year number 2. It was a lot of garbage time for him this year, and that makes sense because he was on the best team in the Eastern Conference, but I do wonder what his minutes are going to look like next year because DeAndre Hunter is under contract, Dean Wade is under contract, as well as Max Strus going forward. Next up, we got Yves Missi. I could throw him in exceeded expectations. He was just thrown out there as a starting center early in the year, but I think I saw enough flashes from him this year that he does have a bright future in this league as a good center. I think he can go on like a similar career path to like Onyeka Okongwu over there in Atlanta. He's an athletic freak, and as he's going to get a little bit more polish at that center position, a better feel for the game, and hopefully just some veteran stability around him, especially having like a veteran point guard on this team again that can actually fully guide him throughout his rookie season. I think he'll be fine going forward because I'm just imagining him playing with Trae Young or Tyrese Halliburton and how that could have helped out his development this year. But this year, there was just so many injuries in New Orleans, and I do think he stepped up. Next up, we have Deron Holmes. Needs more playing time. Unfortunately, he tore his Achilles in the summer league, so hopefully we're seeing him in the rotation next year and can take those DeAndre Jordan minutes. AJ Johnson. So this is a player that I kind of trashed the Bucks pick on draft night, and I guess them trading him midway through his rookie year proved me right because I didn't think he was NBA ready, and I don't think he was the type of player that was going to succeed in the Bucks system that's had a terrible track record developing these raw prospects over the last 4 or so years. But ever since the Washington Wizards trade for him, I love his long-term outlook, and that is going to be the spot for him to develop over the course of the next 5 to 10 years there with good veteran leadership. He's a very crafty ball handler, can get to the rim, and is a good athlete. So you could throw him in the bright future, but for where he was selected, exceeded expectations. Honestly, I think he does have a bright future in this league because maybe he's put up relatively similar production to what you'd expect for somebody drafted in the 20s. But I think AJ Johnson does have a bright future, and I think I was way too low on him. I had him in like my 50s of my final big board. I liked what I saw at the combine. He was a top high school recruit, but played overseas, and I do think he can get the most out of his potential there and in Washington. But what if they added Dylan Harper? Then you already have Bubba ahead of him, and then you also have guys like Jordan Poole and Corey Kispert that can get those guard minutes going forward. So I hope he does have a decent amount of playing time in year number 2. Next up, we have Keyshawn George. I think exceeded expectations this year. I don't know if I want to put him in the same tier as these guys, but I do think he's got a bright future in this league. At one point, though, I did not think he was a top 25 rookie. He did not look good in the first half of the year, but as you dive into the splits a little bit more, it kind of was inefficient at times. So I'm going to drop him to exceeded expectations for where he was selected in the first round. But honestly, like, I don't think he's that far off from Jacoby Walter, so maybe I'm going to drop him there. Next up, we have Bakomi Dadiet. I mean, he barely played this year. He is incredibly raw, so I kind of want to throw him and can only go up from here. But he's a G League guy. We kind of need to see more minutes, maybe similar to Jalen Tyson, but he's got a long way to go. Next up, Dylan Jones of the Thunder, who I think you could probably throw him, can only go up from here. I don't think he looked like a great rookie this year when he got decent playing time. He wasn't really super efficient. I did like him out of Weber State, but I do think, I don't know, with the Thunder adding some guys this offseason, they're going to get Topic back. Where's his spot in the rotation next year? Terrence Shitton Jr. I mean, he's a little bit on the older side, so there's a chance I could throw him in like need year 2 playing time, just more than this year, not being a garbage time guy because he only played when injuries happened. So I think I'm going to throw him in there because I didn't really see him play all that bad in the minutes he actually played meaningful ones of. Ryan Dunn I think what we saw defensively is what was advertised, but the offense was a little bit inconsistent throughout the year. But he was the 28th overall pick in the draft, so I think I'm going to throw him in that tier with Dalton Connect and Tristan De Silva. Like, for non-modern picks, exceeded expectations in their role, and I think for him, was asked to do a little bit too much than what he really should have been given his responsibility, playing with KD, Booker, and Beal, and that team being so disappointing. And I think for what his role was, he exceeded expectations there. Next up, we have Isaiah Collier, who I don't think I could throw in that top tier, but really looked like a good initiating point guard throughout the second half of the year for the Utah Jazz. I do wonder if he's going to be their starting point guard next year. I guess it really depends if they get somebody like Dylan Harper throughout the draft or they make a trade, but he's got really good court vision. I liked what I saw at USC, and I thought it was a steal that he went at pick 29. So Reed Shepherd, man, I guess I can really say you can only go up from here. He just didn't play a lot this year for the Houston Rockets. He had that one game when the Rockets were banged up against the Thunder, and he looked so comfortable scoring the basketball. He was a summer league standout, not super efficient in the preseason, but just didn't really play a lot for the Houston Rockets this year. And I get it, they have a lot of guards on their team and wings. I just wish we get to see him play a little bit more. He only appeared in 4 games in the month of March. So I like him the most out of these guys. I'm still a big Reed Shepherd fan. I know they probably rather have the guy that was selected 4th overall, but I'm not out on Reed Shepherd whatsoever, and I'm buying all that stock. But yeah, you can really only go up in year number 2. Barrow Sherman, probably going to throw him in need year 2 playing time. It's just he's on the older side. He had that one good scoring game against the Nets not too long ago. But yeah, just didn't really play a whole lot this year. Next up, we do have Jonathan Mogbo of the Toronto Raptors. Definitely exceeded expectations. He is a dog defensively. He was the 31st overall pick in this draft out of San Fran and looks like a nice Swiss Army knife on that end of the floor for them going forward. I think Kyle Filipowski exceeded expectations. He does look like a floor spacing big for this team, and I do think looked a lot better than Cody Williams this year, although Cody Williams was a freshman. Filipowski was a sophomore going into the NBA draft, but I do think Filipowski could be at least a good rotational big for a little bit. Next up, we have Tyler Smith. Just needs year 2 playing time. I was a massive fan of Tyler Smith coming out of the G League Ignite. I didn't love the destination in Milwaukee. Like I said with AJ Johnson before, I'm just not the biggest fan of Milwaukee's development system right now. Tyler Kolek just didn't really play a lot this year. He has played a little bit more since the Jalen Brunson injury happened. He's a very good initiator. He's got great vision, but the defense out there is not looking too good right now. But I think I'm going to throw him in this bottom tier. Johnny Furphy, yeah, need year 2 playing time. I do wonder if he regrets not staying at Kansas for another year, maybe getting that NIL bag and maybe increasing his draft stock. Same with Juan Nunez, who was a 2nd round pick. Same with Bobby Klippman, who we just haven't seen a lot of this year. AJ Mitchell, I think he's got a bright future. Maybe I'm just sipping that Thunder development Kool-Aid, but that sample size we saw before the toe injury, he looked like an incredible combo guard, and he was a combine standout out of UC Santa Barbara last year. And I'm a big fan of Mitchell. I think he could be the best guard in this tier. It just depends if he's going to get a good amount of playing time in OKC going forward. Jalen Wells, I can't throw him in the future All-Star, but he definitely has a bright future as a great rotational piece in this league. Played big-time minutes for a good team this year in the Memphis Grizzlies, and I think he's going to be a great 3-and-D piece for them in the long term. And yes, Stephon Castle is going to be my last future All-Star. He's going to most likely win Rookie of the Year. The defense is already on point there in San Antonio. He can get downhill, finish at the rim, super physical. If the shot comes around, his ceiling is going to go up another level. I'm still not super confident it will come around, but I do think he could be a crafty scorer, off-ball cutter, either way, and he is going to be a top 5 rookie this year. I do believe these are the 5 best rookies from this class. I think when you're looking at upside potential long-term, Ware and Carrington are right there, and maybe 1 or 2 more guys that we'll get to, but I do think this is the 5 guys that I would take long-term from this class based on what we saw this year. Oso Ighodaro, I would just say exceeded expectations, was also just thrown out there in Phoenix, was asked to do a lot at times for this team, and I know he's far from perfect, but I still think he could be a good, smart, big man in the paint going forward. Adem Bona, we're also seeing him thrown out there for a bad Sixers team that's just actively tanking. I think he's exceeded expectations for a 2nd round pick. KJ Simpson could be better or could be worse this year. There were flashes at times. I don't think he was terrible. He was also a combine standout last year from the Chicago Draft Combine, but I don't think he's exceeded expectations. I don't think it was like rock bottom for his rookie year. But I do think it could have been better, could have been worse. We didn't really see Nikola Jurisic at all this season. I think Pele Larson has shown some flashes this year for sure and has had some good games as of late in the month of March. So I'm going to throw him in exceeded expectations. I think he could be a good role player for the Heat going forward. Jamal Shed, definition of exceeding expectations this year. Talk about a dog defensively. Him and Mogbo have been a lot of fun to watch on that end of the floor, and Shed has taken that defensive talent he had in Houston last year with the Cougars over to Toronto this year, and people didn't want to draft him because maybe the offensive game wasn't going to be super polished. He's not the tallest guy, but he plays with a lot of grit, and he's been great for them. Cam Christie just need more playing time next year. Haven't really seen him a ton this year. Antonio Reeves has also exceeded expectations this year for the Pelicans. I mean, it's been great for him just to get looks and opportunities and touches with all the injuries there in New Orleans. Next up for some of these guys that I think just need more playing time, Harrison Ingram, we didn't really see out of UNC this year. Same with Tristan Newton from UConn. Same with Enrique Freeman. Didn't really play a lot. Melvin Ajinka didn't play a lot either. Anton Watson already got waived by the Boston Celtics, was picked up by the New York Knicks. I think Ulrich Chomsky can be in there as well. I mean, he's a super raw prospect. We'll see how the development goes. Kevin McCullough recently got healthy, but haven't really seen a lot with the Knicks this year. And I think Cam Spencer, I'm going to throw him in the year 2 playing time. He was a second round pick, didn't have high expectations, but also just didn't really play a lot in meaningful minutes this year. So Tijon Salon can only go up from here. It does look like he's still a few years away and is a super raw prospect. I thought he was drafted kind of high there with the 6th overall pick. Some players that maybe are looking a little bit better, like Matas Buzelis, Jared McCain, Donovan Clingan, that were drafted after him. I'd prefer to have in Charlotte, but either way, hopefully he does reach that ceiling that new Charlotte Hornets front office thought when they drafted him. I think Ron Holland has a bright future. I mean, he fits this bad boys Pistons vibe right away. He's like an enforcer out there. I loved Ron Holland coming out of the G League Ignite. Maybe I should have liked Buzelis a little bit more. I had Holland as my 2nd ranked prospect going into the 2024 draft. I was happy when he went 5th overall because I thought I was a little bit higher on Holland than the consensus was. And then a lot of mocks had Holland not even in the top 10, or some not even in the lottery leading up to draft night from major outlets. He goes 5th overall. I thought it was going to be Buzelis 5th overall, but I think he's shown good flashes on the defensive end. Had a good scoring game the other night for the first time this year when Cade Cunningham was out. Quinton Post exceeded expectations 100%. Getting a center that plays hard, pretty smart out there, good touch around the rim, and can space the floor. Mike Dunleavy found a gem here. I didn't really know much of him coming out of Boston College. Saw him at the Combine. I was like, who is this guy? Watched a little bit of tape, liked him a little bit, but he's definitely wowed me in his rookie year. Bronny James, I mean, I gotta say, exceeded expectations. I know he's been a polarizing figure this year for a bunch of different ways. He did have 17 points against the Bucks the other night. Maybe, I don't know. He's shown flashes for somebody drafted in the 2nd round, but honestly, I think we just need to see more playing time. It was very inconsistent up there with the Lakers team. I know he's had some very good G League games, so hopefully we do see him in that rotation. But honestly, with all things considered, with the cardiac arrest not being too long ago, I think he's shown good flashes, and also all the pressure he has on the floor. Ariel Hukporti showed some flashes. It sucks that he got hurt for the Knicks this year. I kind of want to throw him in exceeded expectations because he was one of the final picks of the 2nd round coming out of Germany, and he's looked pretty polished as a Knicks big man. Donovan Clingan, I think, has a bright future. I don't know if he's going to be a top 5 rookie. I wish we got to see him play a little bit more this year. I know there were some foul trouble issues, but I think the defense is going to be a rock solid standing point for him going forward, especially playing with Tumani Kamara in that front court. I just want to see him start next year. I don't really want to see Aiden or Time Lord starting in there anymore. For Rob Dillingham, he just got inconsistent playing time this year, which kind of stinks. I was excited about him in San Antonio, and then he gets traded to Minnesota on draft night. I'm just going to see, like, I need more playing time. I hope to see more playing time from him and Terrence Shannon Jr. next year. Zach Edey, do I think he has a bright future? I don't know. Like, this is pretty much what I expected from Zach Edey this year. Just an enforcer inside, isn't going to play a ton of minutes, but can also be very effective in the minutes he's playing in. But honestly, has played big time minutes for a good team this year. I'm going to throw him in bright future, but you got to also look at it as he's a couple years older than somebody like a Kalel Ware or Yves Missi as well. And last but not least, Justin Edwards, who was an undrafted pick. Had to throw him in here. He has by far exceeded expectations and looks like a true rotational scoring wing for the 76ers moving forward. He's got to be in the rotation next year. I don't care how many guys need minutes. Justin Edwards needs minutes there. He's impressed me a ton this season. So that is going to be my 2024 NBA draft rookie tier list. You can let me know what you think about this tier list down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? What rookie out of needs more playing time next year that you want to see on maybe your team's night-to-night rotation? Or maybe there's a rookie up here that I was a little bit higher on that you think I should be a little bit lower on. Let me know down below. Thank you all for watching. Drop a thumbs up if you guys did enjoy. Subscribe if you're not already. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.